I hope I hope uh, that you'll have as much fun reading my book as I've had writing it. I have to say, this is something I hadn't anticipated until maybe a year or so ago, simply because writing a book wasn't something I set out to do as a project. So it wasn't something I'd planned, although I'd had an interest in writing poems in the past, some contemporary, but mainly traditional ones, one of which is at the back of the book. But getting a piece of written work published certainly wasn't something I'd given a second thought to. So in some ways, you could say that I bucked the trend, because the coaches will tell you you should plan ahead, plan in a structured way. And I think that is something Winsome would endorse. So I had this idea of just compiling some highlights of my life's journey in way of some kind of posterity for the benefit of my family. I think I mentioned somewhere in the book where I showed the first few paragraphs to Altair. And her response was, "You've got to finish it, Dad. If it's only for your granddaughter to read when she's a little older." But as the memories came flooding back, it was such a joy just to reminisce. And so being able to write about it, I just had so much fun doing it. It was as if I'd suddenly found the key to unlock the vault of my memory. And suddenly, there's a deluge of lived experience full of adventure and fun. It gives me such a great pleasure to be able to share it with you all. So whether it was just going fishing, flying my kites, playing my gates, or being chased by a menacing figure of a man wielding some object in his hands, some hard-looking object, and not quite knowing what he might do with it. It all added to the adventure. And all because he was someone who was very sensitive to a derogatory name he was given because of his appearance. And some petulant schoolboy was mischievous enough to provoke him. So a word about the title, just to give you a bit of background, how it came about. Of course, I wanted a title to reflect the theme of a rural setting. So throughout the course of writing the book, I had a different title in mind, which was something to do with burning bush. However, having completed the book, I decided to change it because of the very profound Bible passage associated with burning bush. For those of you who read the scripture, I might add, where there could have been some kind of, if not conflict, but maybe some kind of link, where some people might just, get this idea. So consequently, I came up with Rising to the Morning Dew, which probably gives the theme that bit more relevance. Not only was it more fitting as a title, but it also invoked something else. It dawned on me that there was something poetic about the title. It just had that feel about it. And so I set about writing the poem, which I decided to end the book with. Now, the people I was inspired by, of course, my immediate family, but in particular, my dear Aunt Justina. And she's featured quite prominently throughout the book. She and countless others like her are the real heroines. They were the ones left holding the babies in a literal sense, in many cases. When my parents decided to migrate to the UK in the 1950s, my aunt took on the burden of responsibility to care for me and my 3 siblings, in my case, for the best part of 9 years. And this was the adopted practice in numerous instances in this era. I'm pretty sure the general theme and its sentiments will resonate with many of you who would have traveled a similar path to myself. If you're from a rural background like myself, whether in Jamaica or the wider Caribbean, or anywhere else for that matter, I have no doubt you will find a lot of relatable instances as referenced in large parts of the book as you read through. Please feel free to convey any feedback you might want to pass on. I would welcome that. So as I have said, just a huge part of my motivation or even my inspiration was recognize the real heroes, or more to the point, the real heroines during this migration period. Typically, a grandmother, an older sibling, or an aunt, as was in our case. They took on the burden of responsibility by volunteering to be the interim carer or guardian of all those children left behind while their parents traveled, generally to seek employment. This was the adopted custom, and they were the true heroines. I cannot stress that often enough. With this in mind, I would like to read an excerpt in recognition of her dedication and sacrifice over many years. My outlook and my grounding in life, in large parts, was because of the values she instilled in me as a child. Sorry about that noise. And so this gives a bit of an insight into how much time, guidance, and dedication she displayed just to set us on the right path as children. Just bear with me. Aunt Justina is a very strong, energetic, independent, and vibrant 50-something lady. At nightfall, she sits with the children around the living room table. She gets everyone to do a little reading, sometimes from their school textbooks, other times a passage from the Bible. The children are understandably in very close proximity to a not too bright table lamp. It is all done in a very modest setting. Nevertheless, they are reminded that home sweet home, as inscribed on the lampshade through which the flame from a kerosene fuel lamp shines, is what they have. The lighting is not ideal, but they are very grateful for whatever is available. and more than happy to make full use of it. It reflects an atmosphere of solid grounding provided by someone who was proven to be an inspiration to so many. She rises at the crack of dawn to make sure the children are well prepared before they set off to school. By the time they drag themselves from the comfort of their warm beds, they're often met with the aroma of the roasted coffee beans emanating in the morning air, a good indicator of what drink they're having on the day. The morning sun is already shining brightly, so they know breakfast of roast breadfruit and callaloo, fried dumplings and ackee, or hard-dough bread and fritters will already be prepared. Some mornings, the children will be awakened by the sound of the mortar and pestle made from solid wood, as Aunt Justina pounds the roasted chocolate cocoa beans into a thick paste before rolling it into lemon-sized balls, then leaving them to set. Other mornings, these will be grated into powdered form for their early morning hot drink. Pernell is very keen on feeding the animals. The hens tend to hang around much nearer home, first thing after leaving their roost in the early morning. They seem to know the time when they are due their feed, so they gather from all directions as soon as the usual sound is made to attract their attention. Those with young chickens will shield them in a very protective way as they make sure they are part of the feeding flock. They are free range, so on a normal day, they are usually seen around the garden, making clucking noises as they scratch to uncover the various insects and worms, an added source of food for them throughout the day. An added source of food for them throughout the day. The dogs are fed next to the hens, with the cat not too far away, and all in perfect harmony as they do so. That's an excerpt. Secondly, I'd like to just read a next excerpt. This is more an indication of her values, coupled with a disciplined mindset, which she endeavored to instill in all her adopted children. Aunt Justina has no doubt that going to church and praying regularly has a profoundly positive and spiritual benefit for all. She has found out that Mother Sarah had not had time or the opportunity to get the children christened before she migrated to England. She wastes no time arranging this event for them. Benji, Pernell, and Elsa are not particularly pleased about this idea. As for them, it means that at their ages of 10, 8, and 6, respectively, they're a bit too old to be christened. Furthermore, it means standing at the front, at the back of the church, where all their schoolmates who are in attendance will see them having to undergo an embarrassing religious sacrament, normally reserved for babies. If the children lack enthusiasm while walking to church on a regular Sunday morning, then it's safe to say on this particular morning, their demeanor could have been misconstrued as that of people about to be severely punished for a serious crime. No amount of dissent is going to change the situation, though. Aunt Justina wants them christened. It is not negotiable. So they just have to bite the bullet and resign themselves to this eventuality. Reluctantly, they unceremoniously accept the wishes of their aunt and go through the motions, long faces and all. With all their schoolmates looking on, some a little amused. As they walk home after the event with a sigh of relief, Pernell is saying to himself, I'm so glad it's all behind us now. But if they thought this was all there was to it, they were mistaken. Little did they know that Aunt Justina had already started further arrangements for them to be confirmed. This meant that Pernell, Benji, and Elsa would have to make even more regular visits to church, sometimes on weekdays in preparation for confirmation. The thought of having to do this triggered nothing but further protests from the children. But deep down, they are fully aware that any show of disobedience will only be in vain because of their aunt's strict and principled stance. Okay, so that's the excerpts from two different chapters in the book. Okay, so just to say that we don't have to be prolific writers, although you never know once you get started. But the key is to get started. One of the things I've learned during the course of writing my book is never to set deadlines for finishing. Once you get started, you'd be surprised how much just come flooding back into the memory, particularly if you construct your work chronologically, as I did, assuming that you're writing your memoirs, that is. It was such a pleasure just to reminisce on events, some of which I've outlined. In addition to making little go-karts, or just showing that your selection on the cricket team was warranted because you scored 20 runs or more for the team in any competitive match in which you were selected. The other thing I've learned is that nothing is too trivial to write about. As I reflected on my youthful days, I was saying to myself at one point, who would want to read about a youngster deciding to alter a pair of trousers because he was too self-conscious about the style? But even if it wasn't authentic, I'm sure it is something that would be of some interest of a portion of the reading demographic anyway. Something else I felt was worth mentioning was, given the impact the music has had across the globe, I felt it was also important to mention some great artists who spearheaded the popularity of the music and whom a lot of young people out there would not have heard of. Take Derek Morgan, for instance, Prince Buster, Alton Ellis, Stranger Cole, Delroy Wilson, Patsy Todd, Norma Fraser, Hortense Ellis, Phyllis Dillon, the Techniques, the Melodians, the Maytals, just to name a few. Because I've grown up listening to these artists, most of whom were not heard on mainstream radio back in the day, I felt it was only fitting to mention some of them And thanks to YouTube nowadays, a lot of them are belatedly given some level of exposure. No more than they deserve, I might add. Still, you have to know what you're looking for in order to search in the first place. Now, the name Pernell resonated with me once I decided to write the book in the third person. First of all, it's a name that I like. But I knew someone with that name when I was a young boy. He was a middle-aged gentleman, very outgoing and cultured. And he had a great sense of humor. And someone who always had time for everyone. So his presence stayed with me after all these years. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I hope that gave you some kind of insight into how I came to write this book, and you know, some hopefully it will have encouraged some of you to, if you so desire, just to have a go. Thank you.
Give him his hearts, give him his flowers. Wow, very well spoken. Got some clicks up in here. And there's also a sentimental feel to you there, Winston, as you talk lovingly and passionately about your book. Just to say, it's being recorded, this event, so
right.
I should have mentioned it a little bit earlier, so apologies, but it is being recorded. I did say that it would be streamed live on the Facebook, so just to make everyone aware, if you've got youngsters and so on and so forth. Okay, then we've got some comments in the chat. So before we have his daughters up, Althea, who I've met a few times, and Charlene, who I've met once at his sister's launch. Before we have them up, I'm just going to read some messages of his support and encouragement for you from your family and friends. So he says, I agree with third person Winston. Who's this? It says that Sandra, sorry. Thanks very much. I'm writing mine now, almost at the end. Excellent. So we might have a new author amongst our midst coming to us. Then we've got Kaylee. This is so inspiring. Congratulations, Winston. Look forward to reading your book. It is truly inspiring and heartwarming. So well done and bravo. Prince Buster says, Sandra, sorry. So that might be an inside joke there. Read a couple more. Xenia, that's your niece. Brilliant. Well done, Uncle. Very touching account to hear. My ears pricked up when you talked about the food and stuff like that, the fritters, and woo, love that. So let's continue on. We have a massive lineup for you, and we are going to meet a couple of his daughters first up. And I'm going to ask Althea. I'll ping you, actually. I'll ping you both to the screen so we can see you both. So I'm going to ask Althea and Charlene Smith to come up.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, there's a bit of an echo.
Yeah, I think it's from my side. Just turn that down. Hello. Is it still echoing?
Yeah, if you just put the other computer on mute and turn the volume down.
Okay, brilliant.
Great.
So yeah, I'll begin if that's all right, Charlene. So I'm Althea, Winston's eldest daughter, and I just want to start by saying how proud I am of Dad for writing this book. Really proud, really inspiring, and you've heard some excerpts there. So it's really thoughtful. He's been such an inspiration, and his determination, passion, and I say amazing attention to detail when writing this book has been really motivating. I do remember Dad telling me that he was writing this story, and I thought, yeah, Dad, good for you, that's really good. And he said he's got a lot to tell, a lot to put down on paper, which I thought was fantastic. And again, his distinct words to me were, Althea, there's so much I can write about. And as I do, put pen to paper, more memories surface, more things come to light. And I just keep writing and writing and writing. And those few words then turned into this astounding book full of emotion, full of compassion, full of mystery. You know, so it is, you know, not just saying it because I'm biased, it is, you know, a really good read. You know, I do remember asking Dad at regular intervals, you know, Dad, how's it going? How's everything going? And he sent me snippets, you know, he'd email them to me, and I could see how the book was materializing. Just amazed at how much Dad managed to write and put on paper, put on words. And again, it was just the way it was going, based on an initial idea, was, you know, really, really good. And you know, Dad was so invested. And once he started his writing, he then sent me the first official draft manuscript. It was back in 2020. I remember reading it. It was on maternity leave. And, you know, I couldn't put it down. I'd have the baby crying, and I just couldn't put it down. You know, the things that had come to mind that I didn't know about as well, you know, really helped me to understand his journey, understand his process, understand, you know, what he'd been through in Jamaica as well as in England. And it gave me a big insight into rural Jamaica, particularly in the 1950s. So Dad, yeah, he did refer to himself as the character Pernell, a great name. And it was lovely to hear about Pernell's relationship, particularly with his aunt Justina, as he mentioned before. And also it was interesting to see, you know, how his journey developed, particularly when his mum came to the UK and, you know, left the kids for a while in Jamaica. And, you know, the book goes into a bit more detail about his journey during those years, which again is really good. Another sort of example that I remember is, don't want to give too much of the book away, but there was a serious incident involving, or a near serious incident rather, involving myself, my mother and him, again referred to in different names. And again, you know, you sort of hang on the edge of your seat reading about these events, and it's nice that he's been able to share these as well and speak about what his thoughts are during these incidents and, you know, how he managed to deal with them. But again, I don't want to take too much away from the book. I do want you to have a read and, you know, find out for yourself. But I think the sheer commitment of Dad to his story is very telling, and is, you know, it's very heartfelt as well. So Dad phoned me one day and said, Althea, I think I'd like to get the book published. And I was like, yeah, great. You know, I think the story does need to be shared, not just with me and his family, but with everybody else that it can reach out to. And we did a lot of research into publishers and came across Winston and Peaches Publications. And the journey with Peaches and with Winston has been great. So thank you for the support and the guidance along the way. It's been, you know, really good, and we couldn't have done a lot of the things without you. So thank you very much. And, you know, Dad has been very versatile during this process, giving further ideas about the book, the cover design, and ensuring that the book cover and the title itself is something that he felt really passionate about. So I hope that, you know, it does reflect to you as well. And, you know, Dad went through the book with a fine-tooth comb, making sure everything was good, making sure everything was perfect, rather. And again, not just for himself, but for his target audience as well. So, you know, now we're here. It's been a long journey. But again, I'm very proud that we've reached this stage, and I'm, you know, really, really happy to have been a part of it. So, I want to say a huge thank you to Dad for involving me in this journey and in your writing. And it's been an honour and a pleasure to have been part of it. And I also want to say a huge congratulations on Dad completing this book. It's an astounding achievement. So well done. Thanks, Dad. So now I'll hand over to Charlene, my sister and daughter of Winston, who will say a few words.
Thanks, Althea, and thanks for that really in-depth and kind of like overall review of Dad's book. And yeah, for the interest of time, I'll also just say a few words. So yeah, first I would like to congratulate my dad on completing such a monumental project. It's been a huge undertaking, and as he said in the introduction and in concluding his excerpts, you know, the interest of time in terms of like putting a deadline on things and having things, you know, pressure on how long to spend writing, the fact that he kind of just eradicated those pressures and just kind of let the memories come to him, obviously is evident in the book in terms of how it kind of flows and how everything is kind of brought to light. The depiction of Pernell's journey and experiences are told in such detail that each chapter really does transport you right to the heart of the places, the people, the food, the emotions in particular, where you become immersed in those life endeavors of Pernell, or, you know, my dad. I feel truly proud to have the words of my father in print. It really is a gift I will treasure lifelong. He did mention in the sort of introduction, and Arthur kind of alluded to it earlier, having these words on paper that, you know, they're not going anywhere. And, you know, our family, my nieces, you know, the extended family, they're there in print. So they will continue to transcend and continue to, you know, it's just a huge gift to be able to present to those that you love, but also farther field as well. I share a lot of similarities with Pernell. I feel like reading through this and this book only brings me closer to my dad and closer to Pernell and his journey. And one part that kind of stays in my mind as well in particular is like, as I eat passion fruit every morning, or as it's known as sweet cup, some of you might know, it's from the same sort of analogous family. I often think about the moments of Pernell's journey and the path he has led and the influence that has definitely shaped my life. And you can start seeing those threads and those woven threads pull through into what makes up the fabric of our family and our life and Pernell's journey. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to Dad, and obviously in particular special mentions to my sisters Althea and Laura, who have really kind of, you know, been there as well and to support with my dad's journey as well. So and obviously my mum who obviously creates a big part of this as well. So thank you so much. And yeah, if you haven't got the book already, definitely get the book. It's a great read. You won't be disappointed. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Right. Thank you so much. I can definitely hear that there's a lot of charged emotions here, which is amazing, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. If you haven't done so already, do visit the website. It's winstonfsmith.co.uk. And he says on here, and he says a touching sentiment is, my book is about my life's journey. It is, of course, my memoir, which reflects my life experiences. It depicts a real, authentic and personal insight. So he's definitely passionate about leaving his legacy on the planet. They've all come out in bundles for you, which is amazing. And his website was designed by his daughter, Leanna Smith. So you definitely get the feel that this is a family affair. And we'll be hearing a little bit later about her as we go on. But you can check out the official launch. You can go on there. You can purchase a copy of the book. And speaking of books, I just want you to have a look at this cover right here. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a fan. And now that the chat's open, I just want you to I'm going to give you about 30 seconds just to write in the chat. Oh, I'm doing the matrix thing there with my camera. Sorry about that. I'll come back online in just a sec. This is the Zoom upgrade, AI intelligence at its best. Just write 30 seconds in the chat. What do you think of the book cover? Yeah, so we can see that, you know, the sun there is rising. What do you think of the book cover? Just pop that in the chat for me. I'll give you 30 seconds. Has a Caribbean feel about it. Yes, Nick, it certainly does. I'll just turn my video off for now because it's a bit blurry. Love it. It's spot on and atmospheric. That's a good word. Thank you, Sherelle. Charlene says, wish I was there. You know, in the, for real, sun coming up. I love that. Zania says, love the cover. It's simple yet intriguing. Very atmospheric to the subject, peaceful and warm. What was amazing about this cover was that we went back and forth a few times, and it was illustrated by a really, really talented young lady called Tiani, and her mum books the jobs for her, Joanna Oliver, who's amazing, and she's worked with us for years, and she does our proofreading and in-house editing. And it was just so lovely to see Winston supporting a young artist's work. So got one more thing here, or two more things. Chantel says tranquility. Keisha says it's captivating and gives the feel that you are beginning the journey towards the sun rising. It does. It's a feeling of warmth and belonging, and I love to go hiking in those mountains there. A true reflection of the title, love it. So we like the book. So let's hand over to Joanna Oliver, who's going to just tell us a little bit about the processing and her daughter's artwork, of whom I know she is very, very proud of. So Joanna Oliver, come on in, come on in.
Hey, hello everyone.
I was going to say the price is right, but that's not quite fitting, is it?
No, let's not. I actually didn't realise till this moment that this was going to be quite emotional for a number of reasons. And one is because I've jumped in just as you're talking about this being a family affair, and then I'm realising the synchronicity between this being a family affair at my end as well. And I hadn't kind of really married those two things together. And I want to thank you, Winston, for commissioning my daughter. She's just turned 18, so at the time she was 17 when she produced this artwork, and it was a real learning process for her, because I think you had a very, very clear and specific idea in your mind about what you wanted this to be, because this is your life's work. And she's 17, so she's like trying to catch that vision and catch that vibe. So it's a bit of a tense moment when Winston said, "Oh, what do people think?" I'm thinking, "Oh, what do people think of the cover? That's my baby." So you know, and I'm usually here at book launches talking about proofreading and editing. So this is slightly different for me to be here. My daughter's a behind the scenes person. She's an artist. She loves illustrating. She's not a, you know, sitting here in a book launch kind of speaking type of person. So we play to our strengths, don't we? So what, I mean, I know I've got 5 minutes, so I need to kind of zoom into the bits that I kind of wanted to highlight. So I've kind of collated some of the images. I've just got them in an email. I've not done a presentation because there wasn't enough time to deliver that. Showing some of the stages of this process and some of the changes that were made. So there was the real kind of sense of, you know, make the sun more dew. She was like, how much dew do I need to put on this? So it was like a real process in itself. So I'll show you some of those images, and then I'm going to, she's very kind of shy about what she does, but she does actually do a lot of artwork. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I share on my social medias, because her page has got about 8 images. She's done lots of work. So I just want to kind of give you a flavour. This was, I think, out of her comfort zone as well, because she does lots of faces and portraits and lots of people-based stuff. So again, thank you for the opportunity for her. Winston, do I have sharing abilities?
Yes, you do. Your
Thank you.
co-host,
Sure.
share away. I'm
Brilliant.
looking forward to remembering the process.
Well, I went into the WhatsApp where we were kind of sharing. There we go. I think, is that the one? Let's have a quick look. I did open the email so that I could show. Let me just make sure that I've done that actually properly. It's a bit funny when you're trying to share.
Yeah, that's fine. While you're doing that, yeah, I think
There we go.
Winston was quite specific, and you
Yeah.
reminded me a bit of myself, really, because I like things just so, and tweaking and tweaking. And I know that the Jew was quite important for you because that was quite a sentimental thing, and we built upon it and we built upon it until you were happy. And I think that that's just so important to make sure that it's the cover that you want, and also to teach everybody online that it's a process. From images is a process to it being finished, from starting the book is the process to putting it into a professional content standard page. And, you know, it's really beautiful that we can support young artists. She's even younger than I initially thought. So that's amazing.
Okay, so I'll share this in the email trail here. Well, as I say, I've sent these to myself today for the purposes of showing you all. If I can actually move let's see if it's going to let me. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm working backwards, so I've just had to look through this to see what it remind myself as well. But I think, again, the thing that was different about this for Tiani was that usually I say to her, TT, can you do this? This is the vibe. This is the, you know, this is the color scheme. And she is very interpretative, very creative. She studies psychology and sociology as well. So she tends to bring in her own kind of thinking around, okay, what does that mean in a bigger way? But sorry, Winston, I'm going to show that initial picture that you said, your little sketch of what you were thinking. This was different because this wasn't, you know, saying, TT, do what you like. This was, TT, you need to do what is required of you. You need to produce something to spec. So, you know, it started out with this image that was WhatsApp to me, and with some, what Tiani would call her reference images. So Winston sent, I've not included all of them. So Winston, you were really clear about sending reference images about the type of thing that was being looked for. So we had all of this. Obviously, I forwarded it all to Tiani, and she gets on. And again, this was later. This was later on in the process. The Jew, that was when it was like, no, we're kind of aiming for something a bit more like this. So some of the earlier images you can see were less defined. Okay, they were more blurry, much more feathery. Obviously, that's a reference image. Oh, that's the end one, isn't it? So that's when we kind of got through. But some of these earlier ones, this is when it was starting to be built up a bit more. I think this was the very first one that Tiani produced, and it was like, actually, no, we're not zooming in on the leaves like that. It's a whole image. So you can see that, you know, so what Tiani does is she's mastered digital art. So she is an artist. She can paint. She did study art. She's a really good painter, but for the purposes of probably the last 12 months or so, she's been using a program on her iPad, and I bought her the kind of paper feel so that she can sketch on the iPad, which is what she does. So again, this was like an earlier kind of sketch that she produced on there. Which then built up, and this was one of the early ones. It's like, no, again, too flowery, too feathery, not defined enough. Yes, we need to see more of the sun. You can see this is before the Jew discussion took place. If I'd have shared all of the discussions, I would have been here for 20 minutes because it was protracted. But you know, again, it was learning, and I guess the point is that at the end of it, Winston, as the client, you were happy with what was produced. I think this was in the earlier stages when Tiani was having a go at some of the typography. She's not a typographer, she's an artist, right? So, and Winston is very honest with me and say, no, forget the typography. I've got someone that's specialist in that. Just focus on the art. So we ended up with the finished product eventually. So. You know, was very happy about that. I'll just share a little bit of where are we? Because yeah, she does have an Instagram page, but as I say, she's very shy about kind of sharing. I'm trying to get her out of that, really. But I'm going to just share very quickly some of her stuff that I've shared. Well, you can see actually that my profile, oh, let me go back. My profile picture there and my cover image was Tiani's work as well. So she gets commissioned a lot by me, which is very fortunate, I think, for her, that she gets that kind of level of, I guess, support. That's what we do for our children, isn't it? When they have a talent, just like Winston's done, you've done with your daughters there, kind of zooming in on how can they contribute to this bigger story. Sorry, you will have some other stuff come up because I was thinking, what are the key words have I used for that? Is Tiani, that was her 18th. So that was a piece of work that she did that she called Reflections on Her Younger Self. So that was her then, 17, looking in on her, because I remember that top that she had, her when she was about, I think, 5 or 6. So she's, as you can see, she's quite, there's quite an energy that comes with her work. Sorry, this is just skim through some of this. I want to get to a video that she made of the process, which that was just another piece of work that she did there. Obviously, right, this one, because she can do like a time-lapse replay on the iPad, which is great. So you can see where she starts out with the sketching, and then this was for a children's book that I'm producing. And again, you know, I kind of said, look, this is what it's about. Can you produce some imagery around that? So for this particular image, I said, look, you know, a child meditating. So you can see where she kind of got into, okay, what's that need to look like? What's the body positioning? I'm hoping it shows the end image because that's the kind of coloured in version. It doesn't show it. Okay, this is another, is it showing this video? Yeah. So again, another
We can see
kind
it.
of video that she's been able to produce. So she's quite flexible in what she can do. But you can see that most of her stuff is people. So the work for Winston, for your book cover, was completely a new thing for her. Okay, I'll stop sharing because obviously it's not about Tiani, it's about you, Winston. But I'm really happy that you were happy with the cover and that it did the job that it needed to do. And I just want to say one more thing, because I didn't realise, this is unusual for me not to have read the book, because I usually proofread the book, or many of the books. You said the name Pernell? That is my mum's first child's name, Pernell. I've never heard it in any other space again. So that's just, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Completely amazing to hear that that's the name of the character for you in the book. So thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. I can't wait to tell my mum about that.
That was obviously meant to be. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Yeah, thank
If
you.
Put, your details in the chat and Tiani's Instagram in the chat as well, that would be amazing. Now, I'm sure, Winston, I'm just going to ask you to chime in here. Did you ever see that little sketch that I drew? I don't think I showed you that, did I? Unmute your mic, Winston. You're muted.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing that one.
There was a good job that I didn't do the book cover, right? And why was it so important for you to have a stronger, solid image than it was blurred, sort of, you know, the images that we had before?
Yeah. Well, I felt it was important to capture that Caribbean feel about it, you know, the background, the bright as well, the early morning kind of setting to reflect that it was important, but capturing that Caribbean feel about it. That was what I had in mind. Yeah, a
And
tropical setting.
And I think not too often we have someone that has a set idea, because you knew straight away what you wanted. You knew it was nature that you wanted to be around, and you knew it was the rising of the sun. So
yeah,
just fell into place. And I think that you've got the book that you love and deserve. So well done, well done.
Thank you.
Now we're going to continue this family affair. We are going to cross to the waters, not to sunny Jamaica, but to sunny Croydon, or maybe it could be overcast Croydon. I don't know. But this is your label mate, and not only is she your label mate, she is also your sister as well. And you know, it's a pleasure to have worked with her on her book, My Uncle Robert. That's how I met your daughter Leanna and Charlene at the launch, and they stopped me right at the end because I wasn't feeling that well that day. And it was just lovely to make connections, to see how talented your family is. And it's my pleasure to work with her again. So ladies and gentlemen, I am honored. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. I'm a bit nervous, but nevertheless, let's go with it. I cannot wait to introduce you to Winston's sister, the wonderful, the honourable Beulah Coombs. Unmute your mic, please.
Well, what an introduction. I'll have to try and live up to that. I hope my throat doesn't give way. I've had a cold for a few days now, but I think it will hold out. Congratulations again, Winston. I mean, for completing your book. Writing takes a lot of discipline and commitment. So well done. You know, you had to really get down to it and work at it, and you completed it. So that's great. So your book, through the character Pernell, you draw a pen portrait of what life was like for youth in late 1950s and early 1960s. In rural Jamaica. There's also a pen portrait, physical pen portrait, when you describe walking through fields and going over mountains and so on. There's a lot in there that I wasn't aware of, because although, you know, you and I are siblings, I left Jamaica quite a few years before you did. So there are a lot of things that I wasn't aware of, you know, that I learned about. I wasn't there, for example, when the family got a radio. Lots of other things, people in the community I didn't know about, interaction with various people, Aunt Justina's husband and so on. When I left, I was quite young, so I wasn't aware of quite a lot of that. So it was, you know, found it particularly interesting from that point of view. Then you move on to arriving in England and what it was like for young Black people in the 60s, the 60s and 70s. And again, you know, well, I've had that experience, but a lot of the time I was in London, you were in Manchester. So we had sort of different experiences for a lot of the time. So it's really it will give the reader an insight into, as I say, young Black people's lives in that period, you know, about employment, prejudices, leisure activities. So there's a lot there to inform and interest people. We tend to know more about British people's history and their backgrounds because they're portrayed a lot on television and in films, you know, documentaries. There are a lot of like drama set in bygone decades with characters portrayed using appropriate vernacular and fashion, the way they dress at that time. some films obviously are actually filmed during the period that they're depicting. So we're well aware of the backgrounds of a lot of British people, a lot more than we are, and you of our own. So you've provided, that book has provided a lot of information there that's missing. On the whole, we don't have that, although there were some Black sitcoms in the 70s and 80s. They're no longer shown or accessible to our young people. So they may show, and those sitcoms showed Black people in England. So we still didn't have the information about Jamaica. So, you know, it is very important that we provide this sort of legacy for our children, grandchildren, and those yet to come. So I'm going to keep this very short and sweet. Overall, it's a very interesting and informative read, and I would recommend it to everybody.
Oh, wow. That was amazing. That was amazing. Short and sweet. I think it's only because you got a little cold there.
Yeah. Keep
But you,
coughing, and that's why I have to keep sticking and see.
that's why I've got my tea and
Yeah.
my oh, thank you so much, Beulah. You look lovely as
It's my
always.
pleasure
And
to
I
take
look
part in this.
and I look forward to more to come from you as well. Alrighty, so I'm going to reset the room, and then we're going to go over to Leanna, who is Winston's other daughter. And as I said to you before, she done the website, which you've seen, and she done an invite to the flyers, which some of you got on WhatsApp, and we've got a full house today of 36 people, which is amazing. So welcome. You are at the Rising to the Morning Dew book launch by our debut author, Winston F. Smith, and it's a rural Jamaican experience. We talked about Pernell, and there's so many coincidences there, and it really sounds like a traditional Caribbean name, Pernell. So you really have taken us into the heart of the Caribbean. Now, if you haven't done so already, you can get your copy on Amazon. I'll drop the link in again if you missed it. And make sure when you go onto Amazon that you give a 5-star review. And I'll tell you why this is important. It's because once you put the 5-star review in, you help him to go up the algorithms when his book is first released. And if his book can be shown in more places, then the better, right? So it's very, very important that we help push our authors. He's already got a couple of star ratings, which is fantastic. But please, when I put the link in and you order it, you get a copy, you download it on Kindle, you get the hardback, whichever it is. Make sure that you put a 5-star rating on there, and also visit his website, winstonfsmith.co.uk. Sorry, my phone was ringing there, just trying to turn it off. And also yeah, so make sure you go onto this website and check it out. Now, if you've ordered a signed copy of the book, that will be sent out to you by post, and signed copies are like memorabilia, so make sure you do keep it because it, you know, will be worth a lot in years to come. And this book will be deposited in British libraries as well as a legacy all around the UK. So that's important for you to know as well. So your signed copies will be with you. Now, if you didn't put your address in the details when you logged on to Eventbrite, then please contact Winston with your address and he'll get those out to you. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady I'm very impressed by. We've been liaising since her aunt's launch, Beulah Kims, and she's very talented. You know, she does a lot of things, and I'm glad to begin to get to know her and for her to be in my circle as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to introduce Winston's daughter, Leanna Smith. Take the mic, take the mic.
Oh, I like the introduction. Thank you very much. I'm live from Montego Bay, everybody. Don't be jealous. So I'm just gonna, well, introduce myself again. I'm actually Laura, known by my mum as Laura, known by my dad as Lee or Leanna. I'm the youngest daughter, the favourite, which is opinion or fact, you choose. I'm going to talk a little bit about the website because I wasn't going to mention the website, but actually Joanna talking about the book cover, it just ignited how much I kind of based the website off that. So just quickly touching it because I know I've not got a lot of time, but my dad's favourite colour is green. Well, it was. I hope it still is because the whole website's green. So I based the kind of the colours on the book around that. I think green to me represented go, the start of something, the start of a journey. So you'll see that on the website, the design is literally based around the book cover. So a round of applause for Joanna's daughter once again, because I used that whole idea to base the website on. Just a few words before I pass over to my mother. When my dad said he was writing a book, I thought, wow, this is going to be amazing. My dad doesn't do anything by halves. He's going to put his heart and his soul into this. And I was quite right, because now we're at the finished product, which is absolutely amazing. For me, it's more than just a book. It's where I learn about me. I'm open and very proud about being a first generation Jamaican. I always talk about it. I tell anyone who will listen about how I was brought up in that household. And I think for me, understanding where I'm from, understanding who I am, why I'm like I am, is really important to me. It's quite special because not everybody gets that. I just think, to me, the book represents a lot about coming from where I'm from and where I'm going as well. It touched on things that people are often too scared to talk about. Colorism, which is still prevalent today, classism as well, which again is still prevalent today. The book was based on something that happened almost 70 years ago. So yeah, it's a blueprint that my dad's done. I'm so proud. It's something that we'll pass on for generations and generations. There's something that I didn't know. My mum and dad walked to school for an hour. It's something that we are reminded about. Education is very important in our household. But yeah, Dad, I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of what you've achieved. And I cannot wait to see what's next, because I know you've got lots more to come and lots more to offer. So thank you very much. Short and sweet, as I said. I'm going to introduce you to the other parent, Myrtle Smith.
She won't be able to unmute, so what's her name?
Myrtle, but spelled Myrtl.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to unmute now, please, Myrtle.
Okay. Well, how can I top all that? All I can say, wow. What can I say? Winston's worked so hard every day to achieve this accomplishment. You're a perfect example that if you set your heart and mind to something, you can achieve anything. Congratulations, you're a true inspiration, and I'm sure we are all very proud of you. Like the girl said, we can't wait to see what happens next. Short and sweet, well done.
Oh, we got to give you some clicks there, Mommy. Congratulations. That's beautiful. That definitely an emotional affair. Alrighty, so we've had some people in the chat already by the book. So Zola says, congratulations, Winston. She's sorry she has to go. That's another label mate for you. Alfia says, I hope you all enjoy reading the book as much as I did. Yeah, you got a little preview there, didn't you, Alfia? You lucky person. And Joanna, you have ordered your copy. I've put the details in the chat, so please get on board. Let's try and get Winston into the top 100. Do you think we could do it? Do you think we could do it? Maybe we can. Yes, we can. Barack Obama said, yes, we can. Alrighty, so we're coming towards near the end of this today's launch, but we still got a few more guests for you and some poetry reading, and there's going to be an opportunity for you to unmute your mics and directly speak to Winston himself and congratulate him and ask him any questions that you have, because we want this to be an interactive affair. So I'm going to ask his, he says close friend. It could be his bestie, Bob. Should I feel like saying Sir Bob? Could you could you unmute your mic? You should have that jurisdiction now. And let's hear you.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I'm not an IT specialist. If I have any issues with IT, Winston's my IT guru. I spend a lot of time on the phone asking him questions. However, to say that, you know, to congratulate Winston on this book, to be quite honest, I've known Winston now for over 50 years. We're man and boy. And I had no idea that he had such a talent. He's had it hidden it under a bushel all this time. And the thing is that what's interesting is that I'm going to enjoy reading this book because obviously there's a lot more to learn about him. Just to go on about where he came from in Jamaica, would you believe that we came from about 5 miles apart in Jamaica? And the thing that I got quite emotional listening to him going through the rhythm of the day, because I actually grew up with my grandmother. And what he explains, what he wrote about, what he read from that chapter, it was so visual, you know, and it was fantastic. It took me right back to my childhood. Am I gone or am I still there? Am I still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I saw
Go
a picture. Another picture came up. So I'm not going to stay long. But the other thing is that because I am not on social media, I'm not that kind of literate when it comes to IT and stuff like that. You did ask to comment on the front cover, and I found the front cover so interesting because I spent a lot of time in Spain, and one of the windows in the bedroom actually faced east, and the sun comes up about, well, it depends on the season, but it kind of burns through the mist, and it reminds me very much of Jamaica. And just looking at that, the cover of that book, it's so kind of you know, it's so nostalgic. It takes me all the way back. So fantastic. I'm looking forward to reading the book. And just finally, before I go, I know that Winston has copyright to the book, but I'm going to claim copyright that I know the author. We've been friends for years. So whenever I see anyone with the book, I immediately declare that I know this chap here and he's a good friend of mine. And fantastic. Congrats again, Winston. Fantastic. Thank you.
That's right. Give him his flowers while he is alive. Give him his props, show the heart and show the love.
Should I mute again?
Yes, or I can do it for you if you're, there you go. You've done it. See, you're a technical whiz being around Winston. Well done. Yeah, so we're going to give you your flowers and we're going to give you your props. It has just been an amazing launch. You've had a stellar amount of people come back on a Sunday. You know, they should be cooking rice and peas and jerk chicken now, but they're coming out and they're supporting you. So I know that you must just feel so proud and that your heart must be overjoyed and also overwhelmed. So we are going to go to a question and answer session shortly, but did you know something? Winston is a poet. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. So before we get into that, I'm just going to quickly show you this. So the launch of his book is today. What we're looking at here is analytics. I'm going to educate you all here on how to spot these things. So let's see now, which one is this? This is hardcover. Okay. So the Kindle edition, so it's more easier to get into the top 100 or to the top 10 on Kindle than it is on paperback. But we can see here, think about this, there's millions of books on Amazon. So we can see here already that if you look closely, it's got there his bestseller ranking is 291 in biographies and novelists and playwrights. And he's obviously got a poem in there as well. So he's 553 in that. So if you have some birthday coming up, if you want to get early Christmas presents, then please go and do so. We've got some 5-star ratings as well. We can see his sister's book there, My Uncle Robert. It's nice that they link together in the meta tags. See the reviews down below. So Leanna Smith, you have done a review there, so well done. A beautiful amalgamation of memories and moments from life in journey. Is that, hold on, let's go. There we go. I was missing a little bit there. From life in Jamaica in 1950s. What an extraordinary journey for many barrel children. A must read, and indeed you are correct. And his other daughter there, Charlene Smith, fantastic. Look at these headlines there. Fantastic, excellent. Heartwarming tale that immerses you into Pernell's world and incredible, but also relatable experiences. And remember, these come across there, you can see it's a verified purchase. So that's really, really important because that helps push you up into the algorithms. Without further ado, we are wrapping up. So I'm going to introduce back the star of the show today, debut author Winston F. Smith. He's got some poetry for you. And if you have the book, do read along. And over to you, sir. Could you unmute your mic, please, and tell us about this piece that you're going to read?
Thank you very much, Winston, for that. Yes, so I'm going to attempt to read the aforementioned poem to you. But just a word of caution here. My ability to write a poem does not translate in my ability to recite it. So please make a little allowance for that, if you will. So, okay, here goes. In the stillness of the night, all activities cease. My vision is blurred as the lights go dim. The doors are locked, the curtains are drawn, and now we're all shielded within. The silence is broken by a loud clap of thunder. A great flash of lightning bursts through this precarious roof we're under. It's the still of the night as the clock strikes 2. It's getting so much harder to sleep with eyes wide open. For tomorrow I rise to the morning dew. I find comfort beneath the sheets. My head is still, but my sleep is incomplete. The dawn is but a distant reach, and so the cockerels are still fast asleep. I tossed and turned as my animation grew, but my aim is to rise to the morning dew. As the night wears thin, there's a sliver of light. Suddenly, I'm alerted to all that's in sight. The ambient view is somewhat hollow. It reminds prying eyes of what is to follow. The storm subsides, but I'm still awake. Can't seem to get any sleep, and it's now very late. The only sounds discernible are those of the crickets. They're in some distant tree, yet causing me to fidget. My vision is obscured by the darkness around, but with the emergence of dawn, my anticipation grew. For in no time, I'll rise to the morning dew. My hours of rest may be only 2. I'm unlikely to retrieve because the minutes are few. I continue to watch the hours of night, for in just a short time, I will get my delight. My impatience so clear, the more it grew, that my early rise is still the morning dew. The cockerels are crowing with their usual might. They signal the time, though they are way out of sight. I'm very wary, though there are just a few I check the time, knowing what I have to do. I have to rise to the morning dew. My clothes are moist from the hanging leaves as I make my way through these dense trees. They began sagging the further I go. My pace is curtailed because I'm truly lagging. Yet among the foliage, I make my way through, still sensing the warmth of the morning dew. My view is now clear from the emerging light. In the changing temperature, everywhere is so bright. Looking around, there's so much to savor, because just above the growth, there's a rainbow forming over. I take a deep breath and wait for tomorrow. I walk with caution, for beneath my feet, the ground is forward. I shield my eyes from the light shining through and feel the presence of the morning dew. The leaves are moist from the droplets of dew. I wash my hands and my face too. My shoes are adjusted from the loose grains of sand. They are soon discarded, for I find solace in this pleasant land. My mind is at ease with the feel of cleanliness. My way is now clear. There's so much pleasantness. My spirit is calm. I sense the glare of the rising sun. For in reality, my day has just begun. The leaves begin to flutter from the receding dew. They react to the gentle breeze, the more it blew. I begin to sense a surrounding of grace as I take comfort here in this lovely space. I feel the fresh air from a day that is new and wait for tomorrow and that fresh morning dew. That's the end of that poem. Thank you once again for listening. Back to you, Winsome, if I may.
You may indeed. Can we show some hearts, some clicks? Bravo and well done. It's not easy coming up on here, you know, and speaking, doing a poem and being an author. It is quite pressured and intense. So we give you the honor, like, well done and bravo. You're doing really, really well. You know, you read that beautifully, and that's from one poet to another, you know, aka the lyrical healer in the building. Alrighty, so we're going to now move and open up the floor in just a second to just basically discuss any thoughts that you have. You might want to congratulate Winston before we close up today, or you have a question about the book that he's not answered yet. But before we do that, I just want to say, as an author and a publisher and a confidence coach, if you are inspired by Winston's book, Winston's story, and his poetry, and you too want to be one of our authors that you see here today, I'm going to put my telephone number and my website in the chat, and I'd like to hear from you and see if I can be of assistance to you in any way, shape or form. It's not an easy journey, but it can be done with guidance and focus, as you can see here today. Alrighty then, so I'm now going to open up, so you can now unmute yourselves. If you can raise your hand feature in the chat, that would be amazing. If not, give me a little wave and I'll try and come to you in order. Let me see now. I need to make sure that I can get you all. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Okay, now you can now unmute. So we've got one person first that wants to chat. Xenia, hello. We spoke last week.
Hello all, nice to see you. And Garvey is here as well. First of all, just wanted to say congratulations to Uncle and Grunkle, great uncle from Garvey. It's been really fantastic sort of being able to see this part of your journey, and I think it's so inspirational to see that you know, at no age is there to stop trying something new, you know, learning a new skill and showing off your fabulosity, if that's even a word. So the question that I wanted to ask was, through the process of you writing the book, was there any points that sort of flagged up anything that was quite difficult to go through, any experiences that maybe you would, you know, we lock away sometimes things in boxes because life goes on. So was there anything, sorry, Garvey's literally trying to pull away from me. Was there anything in particular that you found to be quite a tricky memory to unearth? Or conversely, was there anything that you had forgotten about, which was a really lovely memory to go back to?
Hi, Zenia. Nice to see you. Glad that you could make it today as well. Yes, you know, writing the book, there were instances that I wouldn't say they were hard to confront and write about. But when I look back, for instance, I think I've stated where I had some pretty close near-death experiences, not just one, but one or two, you could say. And yeah, although those were, at the time, it was almost as if I hadn't completely grasped the severity of it and how close we were, which much later when I reflected and thought, my gosh, those were pretty close. But I was glad to kind of, first of all, the fact that I escaped, for want of a better word, you know, I give thanks for all that. And rather than kind of feel too much emotions, about negative emotions, I take comfort that the fact that I was able to escape and you say, thank goodness I'm here to tell the tale. But writing the book, to your second question, writing the book was such fun. There was never a point where I thought, no, I can't go through with this. It was all fun to write about because it was mostly reflecting on my youthful days. It was mostly about fun and leisure and pretty much, you know, everything seemed, yeah, lots of fun, lots of fun. Yeah, it was an adventurous time of our lives, and I'm sure there are people watching this who could relate to that. So it was all fun.
I'm glad to hear. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I ordered my signed copy, so I'll be cracking on with that ASAP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanya. Much appreciated. Okay, it's the man of the hour, man of the moment. We've got another question coming up. So, Alfia, over to you. What's your question, please?
Well, first of all, Freya, my daughter would like to say something.
Hello, Freya.
Congratulations.
A bit louder.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Lovely to see you.
And
I hope to get a feedback from you when you read the book.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Okay.
Isn't it? Yeah, my question was, obviously, you know, we've come to the end of, well, near end, if you like, this journey. I know another journey will start in other ways, in other forms of this book. But what are your thoughts on another one, a sequel, if you like, or another book in a different format, whether that be fiction, non-fiction? Would you think about continuing your writing skills?
Well, I think my immediate sort of, well, I don't know, I was going to say project. I've got some poems that, you know, I've written, And I'd like to just add to those a few more, and maybe that will be my next project in terms of writing. In terms of another book, you never know.
Never say never.
Never say never. Never say never. I guess you know, you get a feel for something, and that could just spur you on. Obviously, it wouldn't be a memoir, but you just never know. But in the near future, for the short term, I'm going to concentrate on some poems, and maybe those could be published in some, at the right time. So,
Thanks, Stella. Yeah, poetry sounds amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
You've heard it.
I mean, as you know, I've always written poems and verses and stuff like that. But obviously, this is the first time I've had one sort of published. But there could be a few more in the offing. Who knows?
Yeah, and that sounds good.
You've heard it here first. There could be a poetry book in the making. Yay! And I'd like to challenge you, Winston. May I challenge you, sir?
Yes, you sure can.
Book launch. Because when you were talking and reading, your voice is very palatable to listen to. It's very soft on the ears. You speak very well. So I think there's an audio book inside of you, isn't there?
Is there?
Oh, yeah, we've got some claps. Have we got some hearts? Yeah, if you think there's an audio book inside Winston, can we see some ones in the chats? Let's see. It's definitely worthwhile considering. And what you perhaps don't know is that we're getting ready to move into that area as we will be providing services for budding authors like you, because sometimes people are busy, they've got the babies, they're cooking their ackee and saltfish, and they might not be able to sit down. It's a big book, right? But they'll be able to listen in the car, wouldn't they? What do you think?
Well, this is our new territory for us, so yeah, I'll bear that in mind.
Yes, this is new territory.
Yes.
Joanna Oliver says she will order a book. Excellent. I'm going to take 2 more questions. Don't be shy. This is your time, okay, Leanna? Unmute your mic, please.
Hello. Yes, I just wanted to ask if we're talking about any other writers that are feeling inspired, that have their story but don't know how to put pen to paper. If you could talk about, in terms of how long it took, the journey, what do they expect? Because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's to be realistic with the ambition and with your expectations. So I actually don't know how long it took for you from idea to paper to execution. So I thought it'd be great for all those inspiring writers to hear a little bit about that.
Right. So in terms of who inspired me, authors?
In terms of time, so how long that process took.
Okay. Again, Winsome is the coach, but from my experience, I would advise anyone who wants to write. First of all, if you've got the inclination, just go for it. It's not about what you remember, what you've compiled. If you've got some reservation about how far you'll get, once you get started, it's just amazing how much, once you correlate your poem, what it's about, your book, what it's about, you've got an idea of what you want to write about. The ideas just come like a stream. In terms of deadlines, I wouldn't advise anyone to set deadlines. Again, I'm not the expert. The expert is our coach there, Winsome. But from my experience, don't set deadlines. Just compile your work, and just as soon as make notes as you go along. It could be audio, it could be written form, but just get started. That is the key, to get started. And you just never know. It's fun. It's been fun in my experience. It's been great fun. In fact, I relish the idea all along. Sometimes at nighttime, I get something just come flooding back, and I just make notes, and just include it in the passage and the following day. So yeah, don't be shy about it. It's really, it can be a great thing to do, a great motivator. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's about getting started.
Thanks.
And I think you've motivated a lot of people here today, Winston.
Thank you.
And the process, I think all in all, it was about 2 years, because you were deciding who you wanted to go with for the first year. And
Yeah.
the second year, you took the leap of faith, and it looks like you're happy with the final product.
Very much.
Alrighty, so Sherelle says audio would be a great idea for accessibility, which is true. There's neurodiverse people out there, people that have disabilities, so definitely 100% I agree with that. All right, we're going to take one more question before we wrap this segment up, and then Winston is going to say his thank yous and we're going to say goodbye. But don't worry, we will put this up on YouTube so that you can have a little look and get the replays to your friends and family, and also Leanna can get it up on the website, right? Right. And I too want to just say, thank you for all your help, Alfia and Leanna, and guiding your dad and supporting in that way. Often it doesn't happen like that. They're kind of left to their own devices, and it can make it harder. But I think it was easier because, Winston was an IT expert, so he was confident in things of computers and stuff like that. But, hearts and flowers to you two ladies, because you have been instrumental in the process, and you should give yourselves a pat on the back. All right, so one last question. Who's going to have it? Hey, yes, Bob, come on. Coming in, Bob. Not Bob Marley. This is Bob Bartley.
Close.
But
Bob Marley has a better singing voice.
How would you know you've not started yet?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to listen. Not for very long anyway. Yeah, Smith. I understand that I've not read the book, but I understand that you've used the third person Pernell in this book.
Yeah.
Why didn't you use your first person you? Or if you do another book, would you be using first person you?
Yeah, it's something I kind of the idea just came to me that as you know, I'm a man of if I can put it this way, rather than saying me, I would kind of like to share things. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was from that perspective I thought, if I write about the third person, the reader might, maybe relate to it a little bit more. It might be more relatable, and so from a reader's perspective, it would kind of give that kind of insight, as opposed to it being more personal. It's kind of more relatable. Yeah. But from my perspective, it enabled me to express myself more freely that way.
Right. Okay.
Rather than saying I did this, I did that, I said Pernell, and I found it to be a little bit more. Just gives me that little bit more freedom to express myself.
So by detaching yourself, you felt a little freer.
Freer, precisely.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, but if I had to do another one, yeah, maybe, because I wouldn't do the same thing twice. I wouldn't replicate the same thing. So
if not Pernell, what name would you choose?
Well, Bob might come into my but Yet to be decided.
Bob Marley or Bob Bartley?
I'll toss the coin.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Congratulations, though. Honestly,
Thank you so much.
I never knew you had so much patience and dedication and such a kind of a spectrum of writing ability. Fantastic.
It takes all of the above.
Brilliant,
Very much
brilliant,
so.
brilliant.
All those boxes have to be ticked.
You make me very proud. Fantastic. And your family as well.
I thank you. I thank you so much.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yes, yes.
That is brilliant. And just to touch in, what they're talking about is if you was doing it in the sense of an author, and if it wasn't Winston Smith and he said it was Eric Daly, that would be as a pen name or a pseudonym. And sometimes authors do that when there's legal stuff in place, or things of court matters and things like that, or the topic of the book is quite sensitive and they don't necessarily want it to attach to them because it's not an area of expertise. So there's all different ways of doing it, and this is not unusual by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
So Joanna says, what a beautiful book launch. Thank you, and thank you for your presence. Thank you all for coming. So I believe now Winston has some thank yous, and then we are going to say goodbye and good night. So I hope you have your list ready and you don't miss anybody off that list. If not,
I hope not.
Page.
Yes.
Help you along.
So
over to you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, first of all, thank you all once again for attending. It's great to see so many, close and other faces, relatives, friends, associates. It's been fantastic just to have you join me today and this unusual but special day. So I'd like to thank everyone for their support and for actually and their support and encouragement on this journey. To Leona in particular for creating a great website, to Althea and Charlene for their support, to Myrtle, my wife, for being there for me also, to Bob for your kind words. Yes, to everybody who's joined us today once again. Yeah, you don't know how much this means to me. So thank you all. And last but by no means least, to our host, Winsome Duncan, the creative director of Peaches Publications. Thank you for your guidance and your support throughout this journey. So thanks very much. If there's anybody I've missed out, sorry, but just thank you all for being here today. It's been a great session. Thank you.
Thank you. You are more than welcome, Winston. So, ladies and gentlemen, now the end is near. Okay, so this is what you need to do. If you haven't done so already, order your copy. If you haven't got your signed copy on your way, then you've got your luxury hardbacks there for limited edition only, paperbacks as well. And the Kindle, you might be a millennial, is that what they call it? A millennial. I'll get my words out. Thank you to all the guests that have come today. You have done so well and you have been such an inspiration. This has been Rising to the Morning Dew, a rural Jamaican experience. We have been jamming. And just thank you everyone for joining in, and we will see you over there on the YouTube. So wherever you go tonight, have a great night and be blessed. So we're going to finish now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fly.